my experience with hot springs, I had little kids, and I wanted to go to the diamond mine down there.
Yeah.
Did you ever go there?
No, I haven't, but I do know about it.
Yeah, so evidently, here's what happened. Like years ago in the Paleolithic era or whatever, this volcano exploded, and all of these minerals from these diamonds that were buried came busting out all over the top, and you literally dig through the dirt and find diamonds.
That's insane.
It is, and so like I'm a total rock hound. Like I love rocks.
Well, you're in the right spot.
yeah, for sure. And so here I am thinking that what a great idea it would be for my kids to like take them to this, diamond thing to dig through the dirt. And it was like 108 degrees that day, and they were all redheaded kids.
Yeah. Are they really?
Yes.
Yeah, my entire family is.
Really?
Yeah, so they're just frying.
Yeah, so 100 SPF doesn't do it. And so then we decided to scoot back to Hot Springs because we were just, not having a great time. And I didn't really think it was a great town for kids. I mean, I don't know. Tell me why you guys liked it.
Well, I tell you, I didn't stay in the middle of town. I stayed up on a mountain with a view of the whole valley, the lakes, and everything. So kind of like here, it's a beautiful view over the water. But I really just wanted to see how it had changed too, because their numbers are the same thing. I mean, they're doubling too. I mean, seriously, everything from Broken Bow to Lake Ozark is just on fire right now. I've never seen the development like I've seen here. Like that's crazy to see. I guess because you can see all these developments from the highway,
Yes.
So it's like, and they're all kind of up. So you get this whole view of this mountainside of new homes.
It's true. And, Branson's funny. It's originally, I know the development you're talking about. I think you're talking about Chateau Cove over there in Branson.
Well, I'm in one right now that's clearly not that old. What is it, Branson?
Oh, Branson Canyon?
Canyon.
Actually, Branson Canyon started in 2006.
Okay.
I was the original agent out there.
Of course you were.
And
how many homes are in there?
there's 65 homes in phase one there. And actually, I wasn't the original. The original one, didn't lasted not too long. And then the another agent in my office got the listing, but she was like really super busy at the time, so she asked me to like jump in as a buyer's agent to like help her out. I was like brand new, the first year in real estate, and I was like, sure, I'll do whatever. And there was 3 model homes built in that subdivision and nothing else. And then of course the market crashed, and I would sit out there with no internet and wait for people to come by.
Oh my God.
And this was
It's a long day.
I was the sole breadwinner of my family. The market was horrible, and Branson Canyon was the development that changed my life, to be honest with you.
That's insane. I didn't realize that.
It is. And so
It's a nice development.
the
homes are nice.
It really is. I have spent so much time out there, so much blood, sweat, and tears. And so basically, when the market crashed, I negotiated a deal with the developers out there. I said, listen, okay, I'm thinking, my wife is pregnant. She's about to pop. I've already got a kid, and I don't know how to do anything except real estate. You know what I mean?
Right.
And there was no real estate market. I would come home and Kelly would be like, why are you still in this business? Why don't you go get a job? And I don't know. I just felt drawn into it. And I negotiated a deal with those guys at Branson Canyon. Great guys. And I negotiated a salary with them with a little bonus every time I sold something. And I promised them, because here's what they didn't like. They didn't like people coming to their development as realtors. Or they didn't like realtors listing a development, have people come to it and having them sell somewhere else. They were paying for leads for these people to come in, and the agents were turning around and selling them somewhere else. So that's the promise that I made those guys. I said, you give me a salary, I'm working for you guys from 9 to 5 in the worst real estate market in history, right? And I'll find you some buyers. And I promise you, anybody that wants to buy here, I'll sell them your place or nothing else. I gave up the rest of my business. I made myself an exclusive agent to them for a salary, and that's how I survived the worst real estate market in history. And it just happened to be approved for vacation rentals. So what do you think?
It's super impressive. I think it just goes along with everything that I've been learning for the last few weeks, is that, if you're willing to put the work in, that things don't turn out the way we think they're going to turn out all the time. This is a cyclical market. It's a real high right now.
Super
and I think
high.
a lot of people are very unaware of what it's like on the downside. And
That's true.
the fact is, like we were talking about, you and I were talking about at lunch, that Orlando, that, Disney market really, developed super heavy right before the recession. And they were sitting on all these homes. They are fully back. Their occupancy is high. Their average daily rates are high. They're booked. Like, they're happy in Disney right now. It is the happiest place on earth.
Oh, yeah,
But
absolutely.
they had to go through a whole lot to get there. The people that survived it, and like you, found out creative ways to get through it, they did really, really well. A lot of people give up when it's hard. That's what happens. A lot of people throw in the towel. They're not willing to say, this is what I love to do, and I'm going to figure out a way to stick with it.
It's a shakeout.
It's
right?
totally a shakeout.
It shakes out all the people who aren't committed.
That's absolutely right.
Hey, let's have a drink. What did you bring with you?
Okay, so
Amy?
I have got Club Tails Bahama Mama, and I'm doing this because it's hot here. I can't believe how hot it is.
It's a big can of
It is a big can. I
of
intend
good
to
times.
drink all of it. So it looks refreshing. I think I've got sensational strawberry, cherry, and citrus,
Awesome.
and 10%.
Well, we'll toast here, and
What
you
do you
can tell
got?
me how it is. So this is in honor of you being here. This is a local brew.
Oh, nice. I love the can.
It's a lager. It's a Mother's Brewing Company up in Springfield. They make some phenomenal beers. And my favorite one in the wintertime is called Winter Grind. It's a coffee stout. It is one of the best beers. It's one of my top 5 faves. But I do like a lager, and it's a local brew, so I'm going to have that.
Looks good. I love their graphics for their
Cheers.
labels. Cheers.
All right.
That's not me drinking. That's the sound of pouring over.
Glug, glug,
glug,
glug,
glug, glug, glug, glug.
Well, it's so good to have you here. If you're just joining us, my guest on this podcast is Amy Hinote. She's the founder of VRM Intel. It's a publication for vacation rental publishers, and she's been, about 15 years in the biz now?
About 17, I think.
17, wow. So, I was just thinking about full market cycles and actually how real estate marketing changes every 15 years as well. So let's talk about some of the changes that we've seen in the industry, because like you said, a lot of people are new to this business. They came in when the market was hot. When I entered the industry, I saw the old regime leave. I saw people who did business the old way fail. And I'm talking about real estate agents primarily, people who were waiting for people to walk in on floor time. Those agents lost their homes, and luckily I was just coming into the industry now. So like, I have agents that are asking me all the time, is this a bad time to get into the industry? And I'm like, you're talking to the guy that got into the industry at the worst time. The best time to get in the industry is now.
You've already had your worst day. Every day is a good day for you right now.
Right.
You've got internet.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, like, looking back at this, so my magazine is about the vacation rental industry and development of that industry. And I've been following it like directly for 17 years, but I've done a vast amount of research on it too, written white papers and things like that about the history of it. And there was a development boom back in the late 70s into the 90s, where you saw a lot of vacation homes get built for the first time.
Okay.
Brand new.
Like condo complexes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The big condos along the beaches started going up then, the cabin developments, the old, the cabin resort style stuff.
Yes.
Lot of subdivision style, not what we see now with the big gates and everything, but still like
resorts though.
exactly.
Okay.
So Panhandle, the Gulf Coast markets, Gatlinburg, here, Hot Springs, Tahoe, Breckenridge, Key West, all of these, it was a thing. People didn't buy at the beach before. They didn't put up vacation homes. Like, that just seemed frivolous. It wasn't something that was done. And so when that started happening, it was led by the real estate industry. So the entire the core traditional vacation rental industry is built by real estate. But to your point, something happened. And around, I would say, mid-90s, late 90s, the real estate community, the service just wasn't there. I'm not saying it was lazy, but there was a little bit of they had it good for a long time. They didn't have to deal with the internet for marketing, something like as a competition. So they had big brochures, with the catalogs and all that print marketing, and so you had to use a realtor. You had to use a realtor if you wanted to sell your vacation rental.
In addition to that, you had to use an on-site property manager who
Absolutely.
charged you 50% and gave you limitations on how long you could stay in the property that you owned.
Exactly. And it was, they controlled it. Let's put it that way. The real estate had a complete exclusive on the entire vacation leisure market. And like everyone does, and you get greedy. And it's happened in different segments
Pigs
now.
get fed, hogs get slaughtered.
It's so true. It's true. It's totally the truth. So that's what happened. So the service started to stink. And it was not... At the same time, the internet was coming up, and people were able to do things on their own that they had never been able to do before. They were able to reach markets. They were able to go to a HomeAway or a VRBO.com.
They could send an email across the pond,
You could get a contract signed.
Exactly.
I remember my boss telling me that when they got the first fax machine, that they knew that their being able to leave at noon on Friday was over. Because, as soon as the post office came back on Friday, they were done.
Right.
There was nothing going on in that day.
Man.
So it's so then people started to compete. A lot of entrepreneurial people started to come up with technology and websites and things like Zillow and HomeAway, and gave people the ability to be more service oriented. So to your point, a lot of the big developer real estate companies, the fat and happy ones, a lot of their agents, they were already rich, so it didn't matter.
Right.
Their agents didn't do as well. They were just wanting to walk in on the floor and take their appointments and go home. They didn't want to show property on Sunday.
Right.
And I think that there were people that did. There were people who wanted to rent homes, and do a really good job at it. And there were people who tried to find realtors to manage their homes, and they weren't able to find them that would do a good job, so they built their own companies. So we saw another wave in our industry from that kind of DIY RBO kind of market.
Right.
And they've done pretty well. Then in our industry, in the vacation rental industry, we've also seen another wave come in the last few years from the Airbnb market. And that's that short-term rental, get rich quick, kind
There's
of
money in this business. And
Right.
that has seriously decreased standards
100%.
across the industry.
It's damaging.
It
It's the first
is.
thing we've seen that's really damaged the industry before. But the Airbnb host entry has definitely been harmful.
I one time had a guy talk to me, and he's like, I've got this 2-bedroom condo. I don't know what to do with it. I think I'm just going to sell it. And I'm like, why would you sell it? I said, hold it, build your wealth. Let's show you how to convert it into a nightly rental. And he's like, okay, great. And literally did nothing to it. He listed it on VRBO and did nothing to it. Got 3 or 4 massive complaints. And then he's like, now I'm dealing with all these complaints. And I'm like, my God, this isn't just about money. This is about serving the user. This is about serving the guests. That's what they are. This industry was designed for me to be a host and you to be a guest, and for there to be a relationship there. And that relationship says, this is my home that I use with my family, and I'm sharing it with you. There's a respect there that is gone now.
I completely agree. And this is part of the fact that Airbnb setting this idea of this hotel stay standard. Like, we would have been better off more aligning with the real estate agent, with the real estate industry for distribution. If we were distributing on, I hate to say Zillow because I know they're just as bad, but it's like, there's an understanding that if I go to Zillow, that is someone's home. If I go to Expedia, there's a thought that it is a hotel, and that expectation in our industry, it really is that expectations minus reality equals disappointment. And we say it all the time because
doubt.
if people oversell, the guest is unhappy. The other thing is rates are about 30% higher than they were this time last year. So it's like the guests, I think, reasonably want more for their dollar.
They do. Let's talk about rates. So you just quoted rates. You are very knowledgeable of the industry in multiple markets, and that's rare. It's very rare to find someone like you.
That's what my mom says.
Your absolute knowledge of the market is impressive, and it's inspiring to me. And so when it comes, how do you get your data? How do you learn all of this market? How have you become so aware of things going on everywhere?
So I worked in multiple positions in the industry, kind of like most people, in this space have done. I worked at a publishing company, which is what gave me the background to learn how to do a magazine. We had a marketing services department, and I ended up taking on a job with a large property management company in Gulf Shores, who was our client. So I went to do in-house marketing there. But then I went to technology companies and started doing technology in the vacation rental industry. From that, I realized that we just really didn't have accurate data. And so it was a real problem, and it's something that I was incredibly passionate about. I was a data-driven marketer and media buyer.
You love data.
I do. I'm a fan.
I think it's great.
I like the truth. I was like,
funny.
I'm a truth seeker,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I think that data.
That's what I
gives
have
you
on my
that.
Facebook profile.
No, it's not.
Truth seeker.
what
Something
I'm
like
gonna
that.
put.
Yeah, it's like truth seeker. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I ended up starting to build a data company. And I did. I took on an investor.
Let's just start and build a data company.
Yeah, well, that's what you're doing, right?
Well, yeah, but but it's funny. I mean, it's funny the decisions we make as entrepreneurs. Like sometimes I think just because we can doesn't mean we should.
Amen.
But
Yeah,
but what made you decide to just start a data company?
I think honestly, I took on a life coach at that time. I was in a job that I wasn't happy in, and still, but I knew I wanted to be in this space. I knew the sector was right, but I couldn't really find my place in the world. And so I hired a life coach, and it was fun. It's hard. I mean, it's work.
So what was it like? So, because that's one of the things I love to find out about people. Like, so what made you decide to go ahead and do it, to pull the trigger, to hire a coach, and then, what was it about that coach that changed things for you?
Yeah, I think that when I decided to pay for a life coach, because I didn't have a lot of money at the time, and still don't, but that I was like, if I'm going to invest in this, then I'm going to lean into it. I mean, I'm going to do the work that she says to do. Well, like anything that you do, if you're not going to do it, if you're not going to put the work in, don't do it.
Right.
And so I knew that was the case. So I knew it was going to be hard because, I mean, that kind of work is hard. Exactly.
Coach, yeah.
Someone who's going to make you dive a little bit deeper into, who you are and what you want and where you've messed up along the way. And I think her name was Althea. And she really kind of made me look at what I loved about the industry, made me really question, what I loved about the work that I've done in the past. And it really all led to the fact that the one thing I wanted to do, we actually didn't have. And so I was like, well, I think I can build that. And since I'd worked with some developers in the past, I had some resources to lean on. And so anyway, sold that company. And it's now called Key Data Dashboard, and they're going to be here in Branson next week. So
awesome!
I'm excited about that. But and they've done a lot with it since I got pushed out. That does happen sometimes too.
Do you want to talk about that or no?
I can't. Yeah, I took on an investor.
Uh-huh.
I ran out of money putting it together.
As a lot of startups do. It's just it's the challenge of good ideas and resources. How do you merge the two? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, at some point you've got to have the money to see it through, and I didn't. And so when I ran out, I took on an investor who immediately saw that he thought he could go further without me in the company. I didn't protect myself the way that I should have, and I got pushed out. So I ended up, he had to buy me out, but
We call that a seminar. You could give a seminar and help people avoid that problem.
It's tough. I mean, intellectual property is property.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because those of us in this industry don't even look at it as property.
I know.
But it's just as marketable.
I learned the hard way. When I was in Los Angeles, I lived there. Me and a friend of mine wrote a screenplay, and it was about a football player who didn't know who his dad was. He was a legendary young football player. And as he grew up and he got recruited into the NFL and he found his dad, and it was a story about this football and, family. And we wanted to get it to The Rock because, what a great actor for the story. And so we got it to some people that were in his camp, and we never heard back from him. And then 3 years later, this movie comes out like Daddy's Girl, and it's The Rock with this little girl.
I
They
was
just changed it.
wondering.
They changed it to a little girl, and I swear to God, the first 17 pages of the script were identical to the one that I wrote.
Wow.
And at that point, I'm like, I'm done with entertainment. I'm going to go spend, because as a screenwriter, you spend 8 months of your life writing something, and then you have to go sell it to somebody. So ultimately, we're all salesmen all the time. And I thought, man, I have a kid now. I'm just going to go sell something that I can make money on. And that's what got me into real estate.
I think the minute you take something you love and you want to monetize it, you're in trouble. You have to
man.
be very aware of yourself at that point, because your passion to see it built or to see that baby born can override your sense of judgment. You know what I mean? You're excited to get to the finish line and you want to get there so badly because you believe in what you're doing. But I think that the minute you're looking at what I do and say, I love this so much, I would do this for free. You typically are doing it for free. But, when you're at that
man.
point and you're trying to monetize that, I think it's got to be like you need someone in your corner to kind of check you.
Champion you
Yes.
also.
Yeah, champion. That's a really good point.
So
Like a Barnabas style person, you know what
absolutely,
I mean? Like
yeah. Encourager.
right. Someone who's got your back.
Absolutely.
Because you won't have your back at that point.
No, because you're so emotionally invested in it.
Absolutely.
I've seen a massive transition in my business, and I wanted to make some massive changes to my business because people were asking me, they're like, Jeramie, we really love this model of a vacation rental store. You're a real estate agent, but your focus on vacation rentals is strong. Your advocacy for us, locally is strong. You know a lot about what's going on, and you're training people to do it. So that's what I did. Our clients were like, well, we're going to go buy something in Florida. And we're like, sorry, we can't help you. We're not licensed in Florida. So that's why I wanted to scale. I wanted to scale my model. But scaling independent brokerage model, is difficult. I know there's people doing it now. That was my passion at first, but then I decided that wasn't the direction for me. I did, so I'm building it through EXP, which is a different real estate model, which I really like. But
Yeah, it's super interesting. I think the people there seem to be really happy about it.
same, but so, scaling is hard. It's super hard.
It's hard because you lose the passion, and anytime I feel like everything that we're seeing scaled in our industry is going to the lowest common denominator. It's not raising up to the standard that people are trying to scale something that matters.
We were talking about that at lunch. So, like some of the bigger, I guess, more well-funded companies, I should say, they are providing that lowest common denominator service.
But they're not even profitable. Like, if you're not profitable in the vacation rental industry right now, you're doing something wrong in this particular season.
No doubt.
And they just had an earnings call last week. I think they've lost, there was 56 million, 59 million from last quarter.
Well, what do you expect when the service is, mediocre at best?
I think it's unbelievable that people are doing that, and everyone wants to cash out right now.
Mm-hmm.
There are so many companies that are tired.
Yeah.
That COVID vacation rental experience was very difficult. We were closed for like a month, and the minute things opened up, people wanted to stay in vacation homes. Like that, people left cities. They wanted to stay for more than a few days. And
that changed the industry.
It did completely.
People realized, I think, that they will never miss an opportunity to travel ever again. You wrote an article on this, didn't you? It was in your magazine. It was about what Brian Chesky was saying, the Airbnb CEO. He said something about travel. I forget what it is.
Has been changed.
Yeah.
Has been forever changed.
Yeah.
It wasn't interesting.
That's what it was.
He I don't think he's wrong as the CEO of Airbnb. I think that some of his thoughts about how people will live on the road, I'm not sure if we're seeing that as much come to fruition, but I do think that people look at travel differently. I think they look at it as something that they can do in more places than just Orlando and LA and New York and, just your typical places. I think people are realizing that you can go and stay, in pretty nice homes anywhere, in any corner of the globe. And that changes things because it's not so intimidating. It's also not so packaged like a hotel experience
Right.
where you don't even really get to see the area that you're in. You just go from one
It's
hotel
kind of
to another. It's
sterile,
very sterile.
You walk in and you're walking down an interior hallway, walking past people with, jams on and flip-flops.
It does. I mean, once you start
Who
staying,
you don't know. I have to look down because I'm such an introvert. I'm like, I'm not looking at you.
Exactly.
I'm a human walking past you, but that's all.
So true. I'm exactly the same way. And I'm like that in airport too, by the way.
Really?
I'm like, I'm not here. Don't look at
Yeah.
me.
I just want blinders. I just want to
Right.
put on blinders.
It is uncomfortable. It really is.
Yeah.
Flying's not so fun either, by the way.
Yeah.
So the hotels since COVID are not as great as they used to be in the sense that they're understaffed. They are not doing daily housekeeping service anymore. Their restaurants are not open all the time.
Is this hotels all over or just a few that you've heard about? Or?
It's every hotel that I've been into since COVID. I mean, but
Really?
yeah, no, it's a thing. I mean, people are talking about it. There are hotels that have tried to get back up to full service right now. I haven't been to anything that has back to their 24/7 level of service that they had before. But losing daily housekeeping alone, that was a big differentiator between vacation homes and hotels.
I'm going to leave my bed undone and come back in and feel like a king
Right.
because someone took care of it.
In a vacation home, nobody's going to take care of that till you leave. But now in a hotel stay, no one's going to take care of it until you leave. And so then we've got Instacart, we've got Shipt, we've
DoorDash.
got DoorDash, Grubhub,
Alcohol
Uber Eats,
delivery,
Drizzly, yeah, exactly. Like you can get anything at a vacation home delivered. So that one of the negatives of a vacation home used to be that you have to get all your own stuff and take it and pile it in and leave, and that's not the case anymore. And the other thing is they've lightened the cleanings kind of demands of what they want you to do when you leave. Like you used to have to pretty much clean the entire
I know,
place
yeah.
before you left.
Yes.
And so you don't have to do that anymore. So it's like while vacation rentals have upped their game, hotels have kind of like lost some of theirs. So it's a more equal playing field right now.
No doubt.
I believe that the vacation rental industry has the best name recognition right now, the best reputation that we've ever had. Can we keep it?
Right.
Will be the question.
Right.
I mean, and that's the sad thing about where we are right now is like what we're talking about. The consolidated models are delivering at the lowest common denominator, which isn't great. Then we have all these RBOs and hosts who don't even know how to do it. And you've got professionals who are trying to compete against that and set these guest expectations. And the guests don't know what to expect right now. They could go to one home, it could be an amazing experience, and go right next door and have it be just a disaster.
Right. So I was thinking that this also trickles down into local complaints, community complaints, which ultimately result in political action. Also, the surge in vacation rentals have caused counties and cities to be overrun with permitting applications, questions that nobody has an answer to yet. And so that creates frustration. And when a political department becomes frustrated, they either shut down, regulate, try to ban, or say, problem, go away, And so I've been trying to encourage my local, leaders to be proactive. There's plenty of public record of me saying to these people, these are coming, these aren't going to stop, these are going to stop, please do something about it. What can I do to help? And then it just stopped and we had a moratorium until we got it figured out. We have a big Band-Aid on it and it's working for now. And when the director of planning and zoning gets a complaint on a vacation rental, or one of the commissioners gets a complaint on a vacation rental, it's a worst case scenario situation. Or it's one of those individuals that's just kind of crazy and they're going to tell everybody in the world about it. And we don't have standards to police ourselves, right? Political advocacy, and we don't have a great PR campaign. We need a phenomenal PR campaign that says, hey, 110 vacation rental homes were built in this market. Of that, 66,000 per home trickles into that local market. Every guy who swings a hammer, every single mom that runs a cleaning company, every appliance repairman that runs a business in this town has benefited economically from that. Not to mention sales tax revenues or yada, yada.
You and I are totally on the same page. First of all, VRMA, the Vacation Rental Management Association, used to have a PR campaign designed for this. They ended up taking that budget and moving it to advocacy to be defensive instead of reactive instead of proactive.
Yeah.
What they didn't understand and still don't is that you have to have both sides. You have to have the proactive stance and you have to have a reactive stance to survive in a world where legislation is contagious. And we know that now. We didn't know it first. If you're in Gulf Shores, Alabama, there should be no expectation that there's not a vacation rental next to you. Right. The entire barrier island is vacation rentals, but even there, they're having problems. If you're in Branson, it's a vacation community. You know what I mean? The whole town is built on it. It's funded by it. Everything here is based on it. And to your point, it's not just a vacation. It's not just a realtor. It's not just the developer, the investor, or the property manager, or the homeowner. It is every retail, every restaurant, every hot tub, pool service, landscape service. One of the mistakes we've made is every alliance is about realtors and property managers. They don't include the rest of the ecosystem.
Right.
And the rest of the ecosystem lives there and they vote. Homeowners live somewhere else and they don't vote. So we've had a misbalance of representation, or an imbalance of representation at the municipal level, because we're not involving all the people, the real stakeholders who this industry is critical for in their businesses. We're asking the homeowners to support it, and they live in Dallas and Iowa and Springfield, and they're not here.
Yeah, their vote doesn't count here anyway.
Doesn't count,
locally,
exactly.
So
the aldermen they're not going to listen to that. The planning and zoning, they don't care. I mean,
assessors, what are they?
There's also this dynamic right now that everybody wants to shut the door behind them. The minute somebody moves into the area, and they came here as they vacationed, that's how they found it. They wanted to rent as long as they were vacationing. Now that they own, they want everyone to own. They don't want people in it. So they get very vocal on the other side. Right now, I agree with you. I think the PR thing would be the most advantageous thing to do at this stage with this much development in these high growth markets, is to go ahead and get together and self-regulate to some degree at the HOA, POA, COA level, you know what I mean? And kind of agree to okay, let's all come together and say, we will go ahead and do these 5 things. Whether it's parking spaces, or whether it's, per room occupancy, just things that you already self-regulate on, so that when it becomes an issue, that you're already kind of there at the table with a proposal that you can just hand to the municipal officials and just say, here's what we've already agreed to do. We're already thinking about this. Trash pickup, that's not hard. I think having a 24/7 professional contact, at the property, that benefits the professional community too, and it benefits the economy because it requires people to work.
Keeps complaints down.
It totally
makes other
does.
neighborhoods happy.
I think, if people, and also educating people when they buy. If you're going to buy into a neighborhood, where am I, Branson Canyon?
Yes, you're in Branson Canyon.
There shouldn't be any expectation that those aren't short-term or nightly rentals, right?
Right. Well, that development was different because it was designed. It ended up being. It was originally designed as a second home development where there was a certain number of the homes that were going to be approved for vacation rental, and there was it was 80-something homes, and there was going to be 281 homes in the development. And they only had designations for, 80 some odd of the homes. And then, the problem was, where do you put them? Do you intersperse them in? Do you create a nightly rental area or not? And that was my first experience with, I guess owner occupants and vacation rental owner just kind of clashing. And it's really difficult for those two to mix in a neighborhood.
Well, I think the real estate community could get in front of a lot of it by really by talking to their clients and saying, how important is it to you to be in an area that you don't have nightly rentals close by? And then direct them to places that are exclusive instead of putting them right in the middle of a development. I've got a team. I've got a middle school, maybe a soccer team next door to me in Branson Canyon.
Yeah.
It's totally fine. I'm fully aware that that's what's going to happen.
It could happen, right?
I mean, that's, it's a bunch of girls. So they're like high school girls, mm-hmm. and they're pitched perfectly, But I think that, that's what growth is about. And it just seems like right now we've got a lot of people buying into communities that are short-term rental, vacation rental communities that seem to want to turn it immediately the minute they buy and get in there and we start
Really?
living in the home. They want it to now be a non-rental
Really,
community.
you're
a
seeing
lot
this.
of it.
I haven't seen that.
It could
yet.
easily happen here.
I haven't
at
seen
these
that happen. It's
developments.
typically what we're seeing is because there's a retirement community where somebody comes in and they want to just live here full time, but then 60 people show up at the pool, and then
Right.
they're like, "I'm hiring a lawyer and I'm trying to change
Yeah,
these."
it's a lot of that.
Yeah, but what you're saying is that people who were already vacation rental owners are moving to certain areas and they're trying to change and convert.
Absolutely. Well, I was
Really?
just saying, it's a similar concept. It's like once they get there, they become unhappy with having short-term renters next door. They don't like the discomfort of having new people,
Really?
come in and out all the time. So it's been happening in a lot of places. The other thing we talked about was that affordable housing issue.
Yes.
That starts to shrink down a little bit, and that's another area that people can be proactive when you have high development like this.
Now that I have seen that happen in a number of different cities. So, we talked about this a little bit where because of the surge in price of short-term rental homes, just normal homes that were not short-term rentals also increase in value. And now they're at a place where they're not affordable, right, for people to buy. So I've seen a lot of second home destinations sort of do is they don't ban vacation rentals, which I think we're finding just to be an illegal process anyway. We're starting to see the bans evaporate. It's supposed to be a violation of the Fifth Amendment right, which is a partial taking of our property rights without due compensation.
It's
At least that's what
absolutely
we've
true.
been finding.
And it's interesting to me that it's so many conservative city council members and aldermen and county commissioners that are doing it. Like they're anti-regulation about any EPA regulation that comes through, but yet they'll throw a property rights regulation out. That's pretty liberal.
Very easily. It is.
It blows me away that that's being allowed to continue among conservative communities.
It's almost like a power thing. It seems like, just because they can, they're doing it, and it's usually opinion based. They don't
Going
like
back to the
vacation
data.
rentals, so they are like, hey, we just don't want to allow this, or they have friends who own resorts, and the regulations are different.
Right. I think another thing that's super interesting is when you really actually look at the complaints. Who's calling the BPD?
Right.
It's a lot of it's long-term rentals. I was living in a community that they banned vacation rentals in Orange Beach, Alabama. It's called Bear Point. It was where they were originally because, like I said, they didn't used to build them on the sand. They used to build them inland back in the fishing communities, and so they banned vacation rentals in an entire area where I used to live. And I'm like, I've got 2 meth labs on my road.
Right.
Like, are you really worried about this right now?
No doubt.
It's not even like some of the complaints are really about long-term renters more than they are short-term renters.
Right.
But they're not actually documenting those things. It's anecdotal. The entire thing is, we're getting complaints all the time, or we have people next to us all the time, or it's like there's never anything. That happened 3 times in the last quarter. That's when you really look at the data, it's not short-term renters that are causing the biggest problems.
You're right. At this community that I was talking about, where those people hired lawyers to try to push out vacation renters, I spoke at a public hearing, but before I did, I had gone down to the sheriff's office, and I said, please give me a list over the past 2 years of how many times the sheriff has been called out here, and it was 0 times.
I mean, that's not all the time.
I know. It was a retirement community that's so wild with
Yeah.
vacation rentals that the cops are out. That's what they said.
Right.
0 times.
That's exactly right.
0 times. So, yeah, I think long-term renters, like I'll never rent long-term ever again. I just can't do it because I've had so many personal bad experiences. Now, I'm not against the long-term rental business. I just don't live in that town. Second hometowns, what you typically see is the evaporation of a middle class. That's very much what's happening here. You've got people that own the businesses and people that serve the businesses. And there's such an economic, difference there that the people that serve the businesses, they can't afford to stay in these houses, right? This is the affordable housing issue we're talking about. So what I've seen a lot of these second home destinations do is they restrict vacation rentals. They don't really ban. They just sort of zone away the ability for someone to do a vacation rental in an R1 area, which I think is okay. I mean, I'm a huge proponent and advocate of vacation rentals, but I think that's a decent way to protect local housing.
Yeah.
As long as zoning doesn't become weaponized.
You guys back to your property rights issue. Like, is that fair?
Exactly.
And I personally, on a very personal level, agree with you. Legally, I don't know exactly where I come down to that, but I completely agree that I think it's fair I think my opinion is that it should be done at the POA, COA, HOA level. Like, I think that that's, if it can be done there, that's where it really starts to make a lot of sense, because then developments can make the right decision for their development and their residents. But
and every local city and town could do the same thing for their local population.
Completely. And I think there are, to be fair, I think there are neighborhoods that shouldn't have short-term rentals. I think there are people who don't want to raise their kids next to short-term rentals, and they should be able to have those places to be. You're right, though, in the sense that it's almost unintentional that in any of these second home markets, the properties are just so high right now because investors are buying. It's not even just, they're not just being bought by second homeowners right now. There are people, there's a lot of available cash at that higher, I don't want to say the top 1%, but you know what I mean. Like,
you're right.
Between the class, at the top end of the class structure,
Sure.
they have a lot of capital that they need to deploy right now. It's why startups are able to lose $59 million a quarter right now.
Right.
People are just deploying a lot of capital into places that are in our industry right now. And I think that that's causing a lot of what you're talking about. But also that's what's making the real estate market so hot.
True.
So I don't know. I mean, I do think on the lower end, we're thinking about staffing, the housekeepers, the servers, the retail people, like that particular economic class. Being proactive about providing housing at that level is super smart for any growing destination. Because without that, you don't have business.
Right.
If you don't have housekeepers in the vacation rental industry or check-in people or inspectors, all of that, you're dead.
You're
in the
doing it
water.
yourself.
Yeah, 100%.
Which I have done.
Yeah.
And I don't want to
It's
do
easier.
again.
It's easier to get a grant for some affordable housing
Than to get people to clean their own
Right.
vacation rental. That's a T-shirt right there.
It should be.
That's a bumper sticker. Oh my gosh. So where do you think we're headed?
So I think right now I think this is the most difficult time to be in the vacation rental industry. And I know that seems counterintuitive because everyone's doing pretty well from a financial, it doesn't matter. If there's no time to spend the money anyway right now, like people are burnt out. I mean, it's not easy. I think part of the situation is to your point of scaling. Everyone's trying to learn to do something from scratch. So every time you buy technology, you have to learn it now. You're not just jumping into a system where the technology stack is already set and you're just learning, like you're having to make a decision about what tech you're going to use. Install it, learn it from scratch. You know what I mean? Like it hasn't been set up. So you know how much fun it is to set up your own TV.
Right.
Like it feels like we're having to do that at every stage of the business right now.
Right.
Set up your own stereo. It's like back in the day.
I've been setting things up.
Because you're that guy. I'm not that person.
Since the early 80s.
Are you Gen X or are you millennial?
Gen X.
Oh, yeah. So everybody has to
kidding
be
me?
Gen X right now.
Look at this face. This is the face of a Gen Xer. We have had to learn every new operating system from Apple IIe to iPhone 15.10, whatever. It's like, I am so tired. I told myself I was going to stop at Facebook. When Instagram came, I was like, no, absolutely not. I'm stopping here.
I didn't do it either.
You
Are
didn't?
you on Instagram?
I just did like yesterday
I'm
because I realized
on it,
I have to.
I'm not active for the same reason. I'm like, I'm done.
Yep, yeah.
I'm done. TikTok, I'm not doing
Nope.
it.
I have staff for TikTok now.
Exactly.
I hired a college kid to come in and run my TikTok department. He loves it.
Oh, I bet. If his job is TikTok, I'm sure it's great.
Yeah, Chris is telling him. He's
See, we didn't have TikTok jobs.
right. I know.
No one hired us.
I know.
Will you run my Facebook?
I mowed yards,
Come on. How about,
Yeah.
will you set up 18 social channels
Yes.
this week?
Yes.
We had to do a lot. We had to learn SEO from scratch. We had to learn HTML from scratch. Like, there was a lot we had to do. And this is another kind of like I think that maybe what's really triggering people right now is that, now that you mention it, is that we've had to do that our whole lives. And now we have to do it in and now we've got to scale that. And I mean, not only did we have to learn it from scratch, now we've got to.
It's frustrating, and also wonderful at the same time.
It's totally
because I was
if
at
you're
Hobby.
energized by it.
Well, I'm not energized by it, but I was at Hobby Lobby. The day before Mother's Day,
Hobby
shopping
Lobby.
last minute.
I'm sorry, I've been in 5 vacation rentals here right now. Hobby Lobby must be killing it in Branson right now. Like,
it is.
There's word art on every wall.
That's what
in
my
this
wife
entire
said. That's what
community.
Kelly says. She's like, we stayed in a few months ago. We stayed in a brand new cabin in Sevierville. It was just it was right in Pigeon Forge, and the word art was just like off the charts. It was like someone had read a blog that you need to like make a sentence in the kitchen or something.
And with vacation communities, they're funny too.
Yeah,
it's
they
like,
are.
Seize the day with the SEAS and like that. Oh my gosh. Like, there's so many.
I feel both blessed and relaxed at the same time.
Exactly.
I do feel like fishing now.
I'm going to send you some pictures from the one I'm in right now. There must be 20.
Am I at the lake? Because I wasn't sure.
Speaking of TikTok videos, there is a TikTok of someone going to their vacation home and someone had bought the same saying and put it in every room. So they were going through and they were like, it was unbelievable. It was every single room. It was the same exact saying.
Oh my God, like subliminal messaging.
Right.
Okay.
But I do think, anyway, go back to Hobby Lobby. Sorry, it cracks me up.
Well, I was in Hobby Lobby and I saw a table that was so gaudy that I thought my wife might like it. And so, because she doesn't like gaudy stuff, but she's got this room that she's setting up called the Miranda Room because she loves Miranda, the TV show. And her best friend is British, so who you met, Lisa. And it was this really gaudy thing. And I was like, what if my wife wanted to paint in her Miranda Room? And so I was in Hobby Lobby and I'm like, should I buy it? Should I buy it? Should I not buy it? And I was like, wait a minute. I have space age technology at my fingertips. So I was like, FaceTime. I was like, hey, babe, what do you think of this gaudy table? Should I buy it for you? And she's like, no. And I'm like, okay, thank God I didn't buy it. Right? I just saved myself $34 and a lot of hassle.
It's so funny you say that. The first time I actually ever did that was actually with a wedding thing and I did it with the bride, and this was at Hobby Lobby.
Really?
Hobby Lobby. It must be the place that inspires all of us to finally use our phone video.
Yeah, right.
But there's something about the overwhelming nature of the vacation rental industry right now. When most of us didn't get an off season this year, so that changed things because there are typically 3 or 4 months out of the year that you're not doing a whole lot.
Right.
That didn't happen. I think there's so much new technology now and so much expectation. Everyone had to go to remote check-in if they hadn't already done it before.
Right.
And we've gotten now a lot of contracted cleaners and having to use subs in a different way than we have before. Because you can't find in-house people, so we have to have all the tech that goes along with that too. Even managing Wi-Fi passwords and all the TVs and the new TVs and all the units, having to go to Netflix and Prime and managing all the cable changes there. Remote control is a job in and of itself at a management company.
It truly is.
So everything is hard right now, and everybody's tired. But at the same time, we will get over this hump.
Why do you think so? Tell me why.
Because everything drifts to scale, to your point. Technology will find a solution, know. And what it will be is the consolidation of tech will happen, and there will only be a few systems that everybody knows how to run. Kind of like we all know how to hit. Doesn't matter where you are, you can figure out the microwave.
Yep.
And that's the way that our tech is going to be. It will get super user-friendly, super intuitive. The UIs will get very, easy to run. And, eventually it won't be that you and I are having to go through 18 hours of tech setup, to get a new platform in. Or every person you hire has got to learn 5 different systems.
So what's some advice for, new people coming in? So, all this sounds like a lot of things. Somebody listening to this who's like, man, I really want to get into vacation rental, but this seems weird. So what hope do new people have coming into the business?
I think it's a ton. I mean, first of all, because there is so much exhaustion right now that a lot of people are getting out. The next downturn in the market, that shakeout will happen. We'll start to lose some people in the industry. The get rich quick people will go away. In addition to that, this tech will shake out and it will become a whole lot easier. But even right now, you can go online and list your property on about 5 or 6 different booking channels and book it. You don't have to do a whole lot of SEO, site development, all this kind of stuff. You can get in pretty quickly and get booked right now.
I think travelers will get smarter too. I think they're going to look for a place that doesn't have a pot or something to scramble eggs on that didn't look like it was run through the garbage
that's exactly.
disposal.
I think we've got to this comparison shopping will get better. Right now, it's all review-based.
Yeah.
You have to read reviews on every home to figure out where you want to stay.
Right, exactly.
It's a pain.
It is.
It takes hours to book a vacation rental for your family somewhere, and that can't.
The bigger the family, the longer the time, too, because you have to coordinate schedules, too.
I think that's the kind of stuff that will get easier and better with tech. But I do think this. I think that we have a service problem right now in the industry. because everyone is so tired and understaffed. So, and I think the consolidated models, the Vacasos and some of these other companies that are super large right now, have really tried to take to scale, taking things to that lowest common denominator of service, have really dropped the ball. And in that leaves an opening. When we had that big boom of property management companies come open in, push the traditional realtors out, that was all RBO stuff. And they came in and they sold these homeowners on quality and service. And these homeowners want these homes taken care of. So as a property manager, if it's a new property manager right now, if you can really take care of the homeowner, then you can do really, really well right now.
Agreed.
You can get guests right now. It's
No
not
doubt.
overly difficult. Demand is high. But the homeowner service is low right now.
Same thing I tell new real estate agents when they come into the market. I'll ask them a question: why do we need another real estate agent? Because when I'm training somebody to become a great real estate agent, a lot of people come in and they think it's easy money, and I'm like, there's 800 agents in my market already. There's only a certain number of transactions. Why do we need another real estate agent? Because you could go and pop locks on cars. There's like 2 companies that do it. Why do we need another agent? And I think that's going to happen for owners as well. Why do we need another owner? It's because you have to care about that guest. It kind of goes back to our conversation in the very, very beginning. If you care about that guest, you will always be in business.
It's totally true. And it's a two-sided marketplace. I mean, you've got the person who owns the home and you've got the person who's staying in the home. And I think that right now, service is something that is going down. And it's because people are overwhelmed for a number of reasons. New person right now could come in and do extremely well just from being fresh.
It's true. I talked
just
to a
from
guy
caring.
today. A guy ran upstairs, got a copy of my book. He's a local businessman, and he was buying a property in Northwest Arkansas right now. And he's like, I wanted to come and get a copy of a book for the kid who's helping me set it up, because he's a 25-year-old kid. He's really ambitious, and he wants to, be in the vacation rental biz. But I said, so how's it going with the setup process? And he said, we're really excited about it. We're doing this. We're doing this. We're doing
Isn't that crazy?
There's energy. There's excitement, and it's right, off the
Completely
square, down there in Bentonville. And he's like, we're so excited about this. We can't wait to do it. And like you said, that you're absolutely right on the money. There's tired people in the industry, so people who are excited and passionate about what they do are going to, hopefully set a new standard for all of us.
Totally true. I would, if it were me right now, starting fresh, which we all think about, right? like you would go ahead and get really good software. Like, go ahead and get a software that can grow with you, so you're not switching software solutions, property management software throughout the day.
Right.
Go ahead and put everything on keyless locks, and find the provider that works best in your area. What works at the beach doesn't work in the mountains, and
Right.
vice versa. Go ahead and get Wi-Fi set up so that you're collecting emails from all the guests, not just the person that made the reservation. Like,
Right.
get these basic things checked off as you open, so that you're not having to do what all these other people are doing right now, is having to backtrack and add solutions in, convert data, and try to reconcile all accounts and stuff like that. That's a very tiring process.
That's just good business advice anyway. I mean,
Invest in the tech first. I
Yes.
completely agree, because switching tech is harder than getting new tech.
It absolutely is. And converting the attention of the people that you have in front of you into data is the way to succeed in any business now. Every business
You're
is
absolutely
doing that.
right. And we've come so far with CRM type stuff technology. I mean, we just didn't have it before, because typically what would happen is the only person you talked to was the person who made a reservation, which was typically grandma.
Right.
You
The
know,
matriarch of the
right,
family.
exactly.
That's absolutely true.
And so, but you miss every other person. Grandma didn't decide where the property was going to be.
Oh
You
my
know?
gosh. We've talked about this so much, and I was like, I knew an owner who one of her strategies was to always put a pool table in Branson in all the properties. And she was one of the first people that I met that was always booking over 200 nights in our market. And I was like, what's the secret? And she's like, gave me the 3 or 4, dirty little secrets. And one of them was a pool table. And I'm like, I don't know many women that play pool, and I know a lot of dudes that do, but like, why, if the woman is booking it, do these pool tables book out? And I think it's because women, the matriarch wants everybody to have a good time. She wants the men, to be able to say, hey, we got this place. So when she says, hey, we're going to Branson, they're going to be like, is there a pool table? Yes, honey.
So
all right,
true.
fine.
I completely agree. I think the matriarch is not thinking about what they want.
You're absolutely
However,
right.
a really nice kitchen does matter. We've
does.
seen it data-wise. Like, it's a big deal. There is something subliminal about that.
No doubt. And that was one of the things that my wife was always really big on. Like, the kitchen needs to be fully stocked.
Completely.
And we got a lot of great reviews.
There's
on
nothing
that.
more frustrating than getting in, bringing all your food up, getting ready to cook a meal, and then not having what you need to do it. It's also
with hungry kids,
Exactly. And it is the matriarch that's making that decision.
Yeah.
And so it's like at the end of the day, she's this person who's going to decide who's coming back and who's not. And I mean, but there are so many other people that matter on that reservation. And so like, there's easy ways to do it now, largely with Wi-Fi. You just, put a screen up when people sign on to the Wi-Fi that just collects their name and their email address.
Yeah.
Click the terms and, agree to the terms, and then you can use Wi-Fi. And that's just one of the easy ways to get people on the reservation, because then you can market to them.
So new people coming into the industry need to be tech savvy, and they need to be passionate, and they need to, what else do they need?
I mean, grit. Honestly,
Yeah.
this is an easy, there are very low barriers to entry in most states. So you pretty much you don't even have to have a storefront anymore to get started. But the networking thing, I think, is pretty critical. Being able to get new homeowners to trust you is where you've got to get inventory before you do anything.
Right.
What's interesting to me here is that you have a lot of exclusive management agreements with developers. That's different. That's something that I don't see in a lot of other destinations.
Yeah. What other differences do you see from Branson, or what other observations do you have about Branson since?
I mean,
being
I
there?
gotta say, it's a lot of new development. Like, it's overwhelming to just ride down the roads and see it. I've never seen this kind of, just development after development under construction, and similar style properties. There must be a builder type.
There's one architect in town.
Right, exactly. It's a type,
Yeah.
which is a little concerning,
Yeah,
right?
it
Because
truly
things
is.
date itself, and then new things come
man.
along, and the whole destination could get dated pretty quickly.
Right.
But I think that, which happened in Gatlinburg, like we were talking about at lunch.
Right.
I mean, they got really dated.
Right.
And I think there is a difference there. But I think that the growth outside of town, I think, is another thing. You're not seeing a lot of, you're going wide and not up.
Right.
And I think that's interesting. You don't see a lot of condo style development, luxury high rise development downtown. And I'm wondering why that is, because the views have got to be outstanding the higher you get.
Yeah, the condos here there was a lot of condos in the 90s.
Is there a moratorium on height?
There is.
That's not the right word. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
Like,
like a
very
hard deck,
whatever
what do you
that
call
is.
it?
Yeah. Can't even think right now.
No, but there have because there's been attempts at, like, some of the timeshare companies try to build super high, and some of them have, but there's just a lot of opposition to that one with local planning and zoning hearings and stuff like that. So it's just not something the local planning and zoning boards have ever really passed. All right, so I want to ask you one more question. What are you looking forward to, or what are you inspired by, or what is it that really makes you happy when you think about it?
In general or in the industry?
Just anything.
I don't know that I've thought about anything other than the industry for the last 4
You
weeks.
do
So,
work
I
pretty
really
hard.
don't have,
You do work so hard. You need to.
I've been on the road for a while
But you
now.
travel a lot. Do you enjoy the journey when you travel?
Oh,
Do you love to?
yes. So during COVID, I wasn't out. We did our last show before COVID, our last regional show in Gatlinburg. We did Destin and Gatlinburg in January and February. And then it was the last week of February, and someone sent me a text message during the show, and it said, "Is anyone talking about this COVID-19 thing?" And I was like, no. I mean, nobody was. I had
Right.
executive panels. We had marketing panels. Like, nobody was talking
wanted
about
to
it.
either.
No, it's probably true.
Yeah.
And then within, 3 days, I mean, it was everywhere. But I think that, so from that point, we were able to pull off our national shows, some virtually, some in person, but we couldn't get back to the regional shows until now.
now.
So the North Carolina 3 weeks ago, and here this week,
Yeah.
and then we've got South Lake Tahoe and Fort Myers Beach coming up later, and then we have our data and revenue management conference in Nashville. But when getting out on the road, you get to see the people who actually do the work. So a lot of what I hear are from startups, from the venture capital, the private equity, the speculative side of the industry. People who are looking for a quick get-rich-quick cash out,
right,
looking to consolidate companies just so they can flip them, flip a package, recap, all that kind of stuff. And it's hard to remember having those conversations all day, what it's like at the ground level or at the local level. And so getting to go to the markets and talk to people who really love this business too is what's so fun.
Right.
So they're just not looking at it as some financial, capitalization or financial exit plan,
Right.
I can't think of the right term there, but like they're looking at it as a career and it's something that they enjoy doing and bringing, hospitality is a gift.
No doubt.
And I think that when people have that they love doing this. And then our industry is so cool that any of the other gifts that people have, they also work into the industry too.
Design or marketing.
Or truth seeker.
Yeah, truth seeker is absolutely right.
But you're right.
So how can people find out about your conferences and the things going on with you? Where do they go to find out about
So
you?
the magazine is VRM. It's in Vacation Rental Management Intel. It was originally the data company, so that's where the name came from, and I just never changed it.
It's a cool name.
But it is, and that's what it is. It's intelligence for the vacation rental management professionals.
So do they go to
VRMintel.com.
Okay, and they can check you out and figure out where you'll be next and what conferences they can join in to.
That's absolutely right. And I'm excited. I mean, it's just good to be back on the road, and it's good to be with you, and it's cool to meet new people. And I'm assuming I can ask you to come help us in Nashville for the Data and Revenue Management Conference.
Yeah, I would love to. I would love to be buddies with you, Amy.
Me too.
All right.
Me too.
Well,
new friends.
Thanks again.
Cheers.
For being here. It's been great sharing a drink with you.
You too.
All right.